Assalamu alaikum. My name is Awal Fuseini. I work for an organization called Agriculture and Horticulture Development Board. So this book is a review of a book I published last year, 2020, and it looks at animal welfare from Islamic perspective, and also looking at the opportunities for the processing of halal products. So the reason for this is in the UK, halal meat is growing in importance in terms of the volumes that are consumed. So I wanted to address some of the important aspects. So the market for halal products, the animal welfare aspects, and just look at the rules of halal meat production. What inspired me to write this book is I did a PhD in animal science, and my PhD looked at the slaughter of cattle, so halal slaughter of cattle. When I was doing it, I actually published, as a result of the PhD, I published about 12 peer-reviewed papers and realized that there was a lot of interest in my work. So I also identified a gap in industry where there was no guidance on what halal processes should go through when they're trying to produce halal. So that is one of the two areas that inspired me to produce the book. Yeah, well, what inspired me to get into the industry was I was already working in halal certification, and I realized in terms of cattle, there was a lot of animal welfare arguments against halal. So I wanted to sort of explore to see what the scriptures say about halal, about animal welfare, and also try to see if there are ways we could improve welfare during halal slaughter. So I extensively reviewed some Islamic scriptures, and I've actually written a paper on animal welfare from the Islamic perspective. So these are the things that actually inspired me. The fact that there was an argument against animal welfare during halal slaughter. So I wanted to investigate it further and see how I could change perceptions in that area. So the initial chapters look at the definition of halal, trying to just encompass everything that halal talks about. So highlighting the fact that halal is not just about meat, it's not about food, but it encompasses the entire lifestyle of Muslims. So then we moved on to the market for halal products. So the size of the market, why there is a growing market. So if you look at the UK, for instance, all the major retailers are tapping into the halal sector. So these are things I highlighted in the dynamics in the chapter on halal market dynamics. Then I looked at the science of slaughter. So how Islamic scholars and also meat processors could explore the anatomy of animals to use it to the advantage of the animal, or to improve the welfare of the animal. So for instance, if you look at the anatomy of the neck anatomy of cattle is different from the neck anatomy of small ruminants. And when I say small ruminants, I mean sheep and goats. So the way you slaughter cattle is fundamentally different from the way you slaughter small ruminants. And the reason for that is the blood flow from the heart to the brain is different. Although in both instances, they go through the carotid and jugular veins, so blood moves to the brain through the carotid arteries. Similar in both in cattle and in small ruminants, but in cattle there is an additional blood vessel. So these are things I highlighted in that topic. So using the anatomy, understanding the anatomy, you can actually use that to improve bleeding, and also use that to improve the welfare of the animal. Then another chapter on halal certification, so highlighting the stages involved in halal certification, giving guidelines to processors on how to choose a reputable halal certifier, because not all certifiers, some certifiers are just one-man band. So it's just one person running a certification body. So just highlighting these things to processes so that they can choose wisely when they are trying to identify a certification body. Then I looked at halal food fraud. That is a big thing. Halal food fraud is covered in the book as well. And it's one of the areas that has really, really affected many Muslims. Some of you will recall that in 2013, there were so many fraudulent activities going on in the halal sector that were identified. For instance, pork DNA was found in halal products. There was also an instance where a Muslim butcher decided to sell non-halal products to Muslims as halal by labeling it, falsifying the labels to look as if they were halal products. So these are some of the important chapters that are in the book. In terms of the audience, academics, students, competent authorities, and when I say competent authorities, I mean veterinary organizations that represent governments. So for instance, in the UK, we have the Food Standards Agency. That book has been used by industry a lot. Meat processors, to some extent, consumers. I know consumers. The book it was published by a publishing company, and if you are familiar with the way books are published, if it's not self-published, it can be expensive. So sometimes I just feel consumers may not be able to afford it, but it is out there for academics, for Islamic scholars who want to understand the science of slaughter, who want to understand the issues of halal meat production in the UK, and also just the welfare aspects of slaughter, whether the animal is stunned or not stunned. These are things that I've covered in the book. It's been well received. When it was published last year, we had hundreds of copies sold globally. I do get emails from around the world commenting on the book or just giving positive feedback about the book. I have been invited to write another book looking at the welfare aspects, again, looking at the politics of halal slaughter and looking at ways to improve the image of halal slaughter. I have almost finished writing that, so hopefully that will come out soon, maybe next year or this year if I've got the time to complete it. So the first book has had very positive reception.